The rain-slicked streets of Barcelona gleamed like shattered glass under the street lamps, and I slammed the cafe door behind me so hard the bell jangled like a death knell. You think you can just rewrite us like one of your damn poems? Nicole's voice cracked through the downpour, raw as the thunder rolling in from the Mediterranean. I turned, my heart a fist in my chest, knowing this was the moment I'd faked my way toward for months, until the lie cracked open and swallowed us both. My name is Nora Hayes, and I'd come to Spain chasing ghosts, or maybe running from them, take your pick. Back in Seattle, I'd been the king of cutting corners. A barista by day, a ghostwriter for hack romance novelists by night, spinning tales of love I didn't believe in because the paychecks kept the lights on. But love? That was for suckers, or so I told myself after my last breakup left me with a sublet apartment and a therapy bill I couldn't afford. At 28, I was all sharp edges and sarcasm, the kind of woman who quoted Hemingway to dodge feelings and laughed off vulnerability like it was a bad tip. That's how I ended up on a one-way flight to Barcelona 6 months ago. A freelance gig editing travel blogs turned into a visa extension, and suddenly I was subletting a tiny flat in the Gothic Quarter, waking to the coo of pigeons and the tang of paella from the market below. It started innocently enough, or as innocent as anything gets when you're nursing a sangria at a hole-in-the-wall tapas bar off La Rambla. Nicole Vargas was the bartender, half American, half Catalan, with that effortless glow that made you forget the world was on fire. She was 30, with waves of dark hair she twisted into a loose bun that always unraveled by shift's end, and eyes like burnt caramel that saw right through your bullshit. She'd grown up splitting summers between her mom's place in San Diego and her dad's olive farm outside Girona, which explained the faint surfer drawl mixed with a rolling Spanish lilt. Nicole was a poet, or at least that's what her dog-eared notebook on the bar suggested. Scribbles of verses about fractured hearts and fleeting sunsets. She collected strays. Orphaned cats, broken tourists, anyone with a story that tugged at her. I noticed her first, but she hooked me with a simple line. "You look like you're carrying the rain in your pockets," she'd said that first night, sliding a vermouth my way on the house. I laughed, too loud, too defensive, and fired back with some quip about Seattle's eternal drizzle being my only inheritance. But inside something stirred. Nicole liked the sensitive types, the ones who read Neruda and wept at indie films. She dated a violinist once, she confessed later, who composed sonatas for her birthdays. Me? I was more Metallica than Mahler, more dive bars than dinner parties. But hell, if pretending got me closer to those caramel eyes, I'd dust off my thesaurus and fake it till I made it. So I did. I started small. Borrowing books from the English section at Casa del Libro, dog-earing pages of Pablo Neruda and murmuring lines over late-night walks along the Passeig de Gracia. "I want to do with you what spring does with the cherry trees," I'd quote, watching her light up like the Sagrada Familia at dusk. She thought it was serendipity when I stumbled upon her favorite poet at a flea market. I thought it was survival. We fell into rhythm quick, mornings trading emails about her latest draft, afternoons meandering the Boqueria market where she'd haggle for figs and I'd pretend to care about the symbolism of ripe fruit. Evenings were ours, her reading aloud from her notebook while I nodded, eyes soft, heart pounding like a guilty drum. It wasn't all smoke and mirrors. Nicole made me want to be better, or at least try. She'd drag me to poetry slams in dimly lit cellars off El Raval, where the air hummed with spoken word fire and the scent of clove cigarettes. I'd sit there, nursing a kana, mesmerized not just by her voice, husky, urgent, wrapping around syllables like smoke, but by the way she bared her soul without flinching. "Love isn't a straight line," she'd say after, linking her arm in mine as we stumbled into the night. "It's a goddamn labyrinth." And I'd squeeze her hand, whispering agreements I half meant, because in those moments, with the city lights blurring into stars, I almost believed I could be the woman she deserved. But cracks form in every facade. Mine started with a phone call from Seattle 3 months in. My ex Jake, the tech bro who'd ghosted me for a startup in Silicon Valley, texted out of the blue. "Miss your fire. Coffee when you're back." I deleted it, but not before Nicole glimpsed the screen over my shoulder at breakfast. Her face didn't change, but her questions sharpened. "Who's Jake?" Casual, like asking about the weather. "Old coworker," I lied, smooth as olive oil. She nodded, but the trust in her eyes dimmed just a flicker. I doubled down on the sensitivity act. Surprise wildflower bouquets from the florist on Cara de Ferran. Mixtapes of Bon Iver and Fleet Foxes curated to her indie folk tastes. She melted every time, pulling me into kisses that tasted like salt and secrets. By fall we were inseparable. Barcelona's autumn wrapped us in amber light. Leaves turning gold in the Parc de la Ciutadella, where we'd picnic on Manchego and Membrillo, her head on my lap as I traced lazy circles on her palm. "You're my anchor in this chaos," she'd murmur, and I'd swallow the guilt because anchors sink ships. I told myself it was harmless. Who doesn't embellish for love? But deep down I knew. The Nora she loved was a sketch, not the full canvas. The real me chain-smoked on the balcony at 2 a.m., scrolling job listings back home, wondering if this expatriate dream was just another escape. The high tide of us crashed on All Saints' Day. We'd planned a quiet getaway to the Costa Brava, her dad's old cottage in a fishing village called Cadax, all whitewashed walls and sea spray air. It was meant to be romantic, bonfires on the beach, stargazing from the cliffside terrace. Instead, it became the unraveling. We arrived at dusk, the road winding like a vein through cork oak groves, and Nicole was electric, chattering about Dolly's ghosts haunting the bay, sketching ideas for a chapbook inspired by the trip. I played along, unpacking her typewriter with exaggerated care, but my phone buzzed relentlessly in my bag. Jake again, escalating from text to voicemails. "Nora, come on. We were good. Spain's just a phase." I silenced it, but paranoia gnawed. That night, over a dinner of grilled sardines and aioli under strings of fairy lights, Nicole's mood shifted. "You ever think about going back?" she asked, spearing a potato with her fork. Her tone was light, but her eyes probed. "To the States. Your life there." I shrugged, forcing a smile. "Spain's got its hooks in me now. Can't you tell?" She laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. Later, as we walked the pebbled shore, waves whispering confessions, she stopped and faced me. "Nora, what's the one thing you'd change about us? If you could." My mind blanked. The lie I'd built, the sensitive poetess, the devoted expat, teetered. "Nothing," I said too quickly. "You're perfect." She searched my face, then pulled me close, her lips soft against mine in the salt wind. But in that kiss I tasted the end. The next morning, storm clouds rolled in from the east, mirroring the one brewing inside. I woke to find Nicole gone from the bed, her notebook open on the kitchen table. Pages of new verses, furious and tender. Lines about masks and mirages, a lover who whispers winds but carries thunder. My stomach dropped. She emerged from the terrace, coffee in hand, her expression unreadable. "Read it," she said, sliding the book toward me. I did, and each word was a knife. Accusations veiled as art, doubts sharpened to points. "Is any of it real?" the final stanza asked. I looked up, throat tight. "Nicole, it's me. All of it." But she shook her head, tears welling. "No. The Nora I fell for quotes Rumi at dawn and cries at sunsets. But last night when I asked about going back, you looked like a deer in headlights. Like you were hiding a map out of here." The dam broke then. Words tumbled, defenses first, then truths. I admitted the act. How I'd Googled sensitive date ideas in those early weeks, memorized playlists to match her vibe. "I wanted you to see me," I choked out, rain starting to patter on the roof. "The real me's a mess, but I thought if I could just pretend long enough, I'd grow into it." She listened, arms crossed, the ocean roaring approval behind her. When I finished, silence stretched, broken only by thunder. "You're not pretending now," she said finally, voice small. "But what else? That ex Jake? He's more than a coworker, isn't he?" I froze. How did she know? The phone. I'd left it charging in the bedroom. She'd seen the voicemails. Betrayal flashed in her eyes, hot and immediate. "You came here running from him, didn't you? And now you're stringing me along like some rebound poem." "No." I lunged forward, grabbing her hands. "It's over. He means nothing. You God, Nicole, you're everything." But the words rang hollow even to me. She'd peeled back the first layer. Now the rest unraveled. We argued through the storm, voices rising over the gale, accusations flying like debris. She called me a fraud. I called her idealistic. By evening, as the rain eased to a drizzle, she packed a bag. "I need space," she whispered at the door, her face a mask of hurt, "to figure out if this labyrinth has an exit." She left for her dad's farm, and I stayed alone with the ghosts of Cadax. Days blurred into a haze of cheap wine and regret. I wandered Dali's surrealist paths, seeing twisted figures that mirrored my soul. Back in Barcelona, the city felt alien, its alleys mocking my solitude. Friends from the expat scene texted check-ins. I ghosted them all. The truth settled like fog. I'd built us on sand and the tide had come. 2 weeks later, a postcard arrived, postmarked Girona, her looping script on the back. Labyrinths loop back. Meet me at the beach? N. My heart stuttered. Was it forgiveness? Or farewell? I boarded the train north, pulse racing, knowing this cliffhanger could save us, or shatter what remained. The train to Girona clattered like my nerves, olive groves flashing by in a green blur as I clutched that postcard like a talisman. Barcelona's chaos faded behind me, giving way to Catalonia's quieter pulse. The stone villages perched on hills like forgotten prayers, the air thick with the scent of pine and earth after rain. I'd barely slept, replaying our fight in loops, her voice breaking on fraud, my desperate grabs at half-truths. But beneath the guilt not a fiercer ache, the realization that in faking sensitivity, I'd glimpsed something real. Nicole hadn't just wanted quotes and tears. She'd wanted my unguarded heart. And now, barreling toward her, I vowed to give it, warts and all. Girona station was a bustle of locals haggling over bushels of almonds, but I bypassed the medieval bridges and the Anya River's colorful houses, renting a beat-up Fiat for the hour's drive to her dad's farm. The road twisted through vineyards heavy with Tempranillo grapes, the Pyrenees looming distant and indifferent. Doubt crept in with every mile. What if she'd written in haste? What if the loop back was just poetic pity? By the time I crested the hill to the Vargas finca, a sprawling spread of terracotta roofs and gnarled olive trees, I was a knot of hope and dread. Nicole was in the orchard, knee-deep in the rows, her hair tied with a scarf against the wind, basket slung over one arm as she plucked olives with practiced ease. She looked smaller out here, swallowed by the vastness, but no less fierce. Sundress swapped for overalls caked in dirt, her face smudged but serene. Our eyes met across the grove and time stuttered. She straightened, basket tipping slightly, and for a heartbeat, neither of us moved. Then she set it down, wiping her hands on her thighs, and walked toward me. You came, she said, no warmth, no accusation, just fact like the sun on our skin. I had to. My voice cracked, betraying me. Up close, the hurt etched fine lines around her eyes, but there was no armor, just raw expectancy. We stood there, the wind rustling leaves like whispers, until she nodded toward the house. Come inside. Papa's in town, we've got the place. The farmhouse kitchen was a time capsule. Copper pots hanging from beams, a wood-fired stove simmering paella, herbs drying in bundles from the rafters. She poured us café con leche, strong and black, and we sat at the scarred oak table her grandfather carved. No small talk, she dove straight. I spent these weeks writing, not about you at first. About me. How I chase ideals like they're lifelines. She traced the table's grain, avoiding my gaze. The violinist? He quoted Keats, but he cheated with his muse. I swore off performers after that. I winced, the parallel stinging. Himno parforme. Nicole. Not anymore. She looked up then, sharp. Then who are you, Nora Hayes? The barista cynic from Seattle? Or the woman who left wildflowers on my doorstep at dawn? Both. Neither. I leaned forward, palms flat on the wood, grounding myself. I came to Spain broken. Jake didn't just leave. He gaslit me for a year, made me doubt every instinct. So when I met you, shining like some Catalan sun goddess, I panicked. I thought if I could be the version you deserved, the soft, poetic one, I'd be worthy. But it was a crutch. The real me's scared shitless of losing you, but she's here now. No scripts. She absorbed it, sipping her coffee slow, the steam curling between us like a veil. Minutes stretched, heavy as the olives outside. Finally, she set her cup down. Betrayal's a thief, Nora. It steals trust piece by piece. But I saw glimpses. That night in the storm when you admitted it all. That was real. Messy but real. Her hand inched across the table, hovering near mine. I don't want perfect. I want honest. Relief flooded me, tentative as the first rain after drought. I covered her hand with mine, calluses from her farm work rough against my barista soft skin. Honest it is. Ask me anything. And she did, about Jake, a shallow opportunist who'd bailed when my fire threatened his ego. About Seattle, a gray grind of overpriced rent and underpaid dreams. About why Spain, the light here, it cuts through the bullshit. Hours slipped by, questions weaving into stories, laughter punctuating the ache. By dusk, we'd migrated to the terrace, blankets wrapped around us against the chill, watching fireflies dance over the vines. That night, we didn't rush back to what was. Instead, we talked till stars pricked the sky. About her poems unfinished in notebooks, my ghostwriting gigs that left me hollow. You ever think about writing your own stuff? She asked, head on my shoulder. I hesitated. Skarati de suk. She nudged me. Everyone does at first. But that's the point, bleeding on the page. Her words lingered, a seed in fertile soil. The days that followed were a fragile mending. I stayed on the farm, trading Barcelona's neon for soil-stained mornings. Helping with the harvest, my hands black with pulp as Nicole taught me the rhythm of the trees. Olives don't rush, she'd say, guiding my fingers to the right twist. Twist too hard, you bruise them. Metaphor for us, unspoken but felt. Evenings, we'd hike the nearby trails to a hidden cove, stripping to swimsuits and diving into the cold Mediterranean, surfacing gasping and alive. In those waters, barriers dissolved, her body against mine not as conquest but communion. We'd float, hands linked under the waves, whispering futures. A joint reading in a Barcelona bookstore. A road trip tracing Lorca's footsteps in Granada. But peace is a jealous lover, and conflict shadowed us like the Pyrenees. It reared its head a week in, during a village fiesta for the harvest. The plaza thrummed with castellers building human towers, accordions wailing, locals pressing glasses of garnacha into our hands. Nicole's family enveloped me, her tia pinching my cheeks, her primo challenging me to a dance. I was buzzed, bold, when her dad pulled her aside for a quiet word. I caught fragments. That American girl. Steady. She waved him off, but later, by the bonfire, her mood soured. Papa worries. Thinks you're a tourist heartbreaker. Like the last one. Last one? Jealousy spiked, irrational but sharp. Who's the last one? I pressed, voice low. She sighed, firelight flickering on her face. A painter from Madrid. Stayed 3 months, promised the moon. Then vanished with my favorite canvas. The parallel hit like a slap, me the pretender. I'm not her, I said, fierce. I'm staying. But doubt crept into her eyes. Words are easy, Nora. Prove it. The challenge hung, a gauntlet. Back at the farm, I poured it into action. Mornings drafting my first real piece. A raw essay on faking fragility, submitted to a lit mag under my name, No Ghost. She read the draft over breakfast, her silence golden. This is you, she said, folding the pages. The woman I want. We celebrated with a picnic under the oldest olive tree. Her reading her latest poem aloud. A ode to roots that twist and hold, even in storm. As the sun dipped, she kissed me slow, deliberate, sealing the vow. Yet the past isn't so easily pruned. Jake's shadow lengthened with an email a fortnight later. Heard you're playing house in Spain. Careful, girls like her burn bright but quick. How he tracked me down I didn't ask. The venom was enough. I deleted it, but screenshots burned in my mind. That night, over dinner it spilled. My ex, he's harassing me. Thinks he owns my story. Nicole's fork paused midair. And you didn't tell me? Hurt layered her voice, fresh betrayal. I didn't want to drag you into my mess. That's not how this works, she snapped, standing. We're in the labyrinth together, or not at all. She stormed to her room, door clicking shut like a period. I sat there, stewing in regret, the farm's silence amplifying my isolation. Dawn found me on the terrace, nursing coffee and cowardice when she emerged, eyes puffy but resolved. Show me the email. I did, and together we drafted a cease and desist, her legal eagle cousin in Barcelona looping in. Teamwork, she said, squeezing my hand. But the fracture lingered, a hairline crack. As winter whispered in, crisp mornings frosting the vines, we deepened. I enrolled in a local writing workshop, my essays earning nods from grizzled Catalans who saw the American fire beneath the polish. Nicole's chapbook took shape, verses infused with our story. She came as shadow, stayed as light. We dreamed aloud of a life intertwined, her farm as base, Barcelona weekends for slams and markets. But whispers of conflict stirred. Her dad's skepticism grew, invitations cooling. Expat friends back home urged my return. Spain's fun but real life's waiting. The climax brewed on Christmas Eve. Markets aglow with turnstiles and carols in Catalan. We'd planned a quiet Noche Buena at the farm, but Jake escalated. A package arriving via courier. A dog-eared copy of my old ghostwritten novel inscribed, "Knew you couldn't hack it solo. Come home." Nicole found it first, ribbon askew on the doorstep. Her face when she handed it to me. Not anger but pity. This is him? The one who broke you? Worse, she'd skimmed the pages, recognizing echoes of my sensitive act. Did you write this? The flowery bullshit. I nodded, shame hot. For money. Before you. But the seed of doubt flowered. Was I still performing? That night, over candlelit fedua, she confronted it. I love the Nora who's real, the one who swears at burnt toast and dances like no one's watching. But if there's even a sliver of pretense left. Her voice trailed, eyes pleading. I swear it's gone. I reached for her but she pulled back. Prove it one last time. Write something now. No filter. About us, the ugly parts. Heart hammering, I grabbed her notebook, pen flying across pages. A stream of consciousness, torrent of fears, fumbles, the terror of loving so hard it might consume me. When I finished, hands shaking, I slid it over. She read, tears tracing silent paths. This, she whispered. This is us. We fell into each other then, not with passion's fire, but tenderness's glow, arms wrapped tight against the winter chill, the farm's hearth crackling approval. But dawn brought reckoning. A call from Seattle, my mom ill, urging return. Family first, she said. Nicole overheard, her face paling. Go if you need to, she murmured. But come back. The choice loomed, a precipice. New Year's in Girona was a riot of fireworks and cava toasts, but for us it marked a pivot, from fragile truce to forged alliance. I booked a flight to Seattle, a quick recon for Mom's sake, promising Nicole a return by Epiphany. 2 weeks. I vowed at the station, her scarf, knitted with olive green wool, wrapped around my neck like a lifeline. She pressed a final poem into my palm. Threads fray but weave tighter in parting. Our kiss was fierce, tasting of resolve and reluctance. As the train pulled away, Catalonia's hills receding like a half-remembered dream. Seattle hit like a slap. The relentless gray, the Space Needle mocking my sun-soaked memories, the hospital's antiseptic hum underscoring Mom's frailty. Pneumonia, they said, but it was the loneliness that hollowed her. Dad gone a decade, siblings scattered. I stayed in her cramped bungalow, brewing weak tea and reading her Maeve Binchy novels aloud, her hand frail in mine. Jake's harassment had ebbed to silence, but his ghost lingered in voicemails from old colleagues. Heard you're queer now? Bold move. I deleted them, focusing on the now. Mom's slow recovery, the city's pull threatening to anchor me. Yet every night emails flew to Nicole. Unfiltered dispatches from the front, the ache of rain on evergreens, the warmth of Mom's laugh when I shared farm tales. She replied in verses, snapshots of frost-laced olives and her latest reading triumphs. Your words are my sun here, she'd write. It sustained me, that transatlantic thread, until the 12th day. A call from Barcelona. Not Nicole, her cousin, voice clipped. Accident on the farm. Tractor rollover. She's okay, broken arm, bruises, but come if you can. Panic surged, wings clipping the miles home. I landed in a frenzy, taxiing straight to the hospital in Girona, heart a war drum. Nicole lay in a side room, arm in a cast painted with her own doodles, swirling vines and fragmented lines, face pale but smirking. Took you long enough, Hemingway. Relief crashed over me. I collapsed into the chair, grasping her good hand. Idiot. What happened? Turns out, a slick patch post-rain. Her pushing too hard to finish the pressing before spring. Papa is furious, says I'm proving him right about city girls. But her eyes sparkled, defiant. In the quiet hours, with monitors beeping, soft truth deepened. I almost lost you, I whispered, thumb tracing her knuckles. She squeezed back. You didn't. But it made me think life's too short for half measures. Her confession followed. Doubts during my absence, whispers from family urging caution. She's American. They'll always leave. I wrote a poem about fear being the real betrayer. She recited it from memory, voice steady. Stanzas of roots reclaiming ground, lovers as anchors, not chains. It undid me, tears hot and unashamed. Recovery wove us tighter. Back at the farm, I became her shadow arm-sling enforcer, fetching ice packs and typing her dictated revisions one-handed. Papa Vargas thawed slowly. Gruff nods turning to shared lunches of escudella, his stories of Franco's shadows mirroring my own hidden scars. "Love's like olives," he grunted one afternoon, pressing a jar into my hands. "Bitter at first, but worth the wait." Nicole beamed, her approval a bomb. Spring unfurled in verdant glory, blossoms carpeting the groves, the air alive with bee hum and distant sea. My essay sold, a small press in Madrid snapping it up for their lit journal. First byline, I texted friends back home, but the real victory was Nicole's chapbook launch. A humid May evening in a Gothic quarter bookshop, fairy lights strung like stars, crowd a mix of poets and farmhands. She read from the stage, voice weaving our tapestry. From masks to mirrors we emerge, and dedicated the final piece to the woman who taught me honesty hurts, but heals. The applause thundered, our eyes locked across the room, a silent vow. But drama's not done with lovers who rebuild. Conflict crested in June, heat wave baking the land when Jake resurfaced. Not digitally but in flesh. He'd traveled to Barcelona for a tech conference, tracked my byline to the launch via mutuals. He cornered us post-reading, outside the shop amid cooling cobblestones, his suit rumpled, eyes glassy from too many estrellas. "Nora? Shit, you look different. Happy." Venom laced the casual, aimed at Nicole. "Heard you're slumming it with poets now. Cute phase." Rage boiled, but Nicole stepped forward, cast shed but poise unbroken. "She's home. And you're trespassing on it." He laughed, bitter. "Home? Baby, you were mine first. Remember the cabin in the Cascades? That was real. Lies twisted our history, but worse." His gaze raked her, dismissive. "You'll tire of the rustic shit. Call me when you do." I lunged, words my weapon. "Get out, Jake. Or I'll make sure every conference knows your real story. The cheating, the gaslighting." Security from the shop ushered him away, but the poison seeped. That night in my flat, Nicole paced, arm aching from the tension. "He makes you doubt yourself." "I see it." I denied it, but truth clawed. His barbs reopened old wounds, making my sensitivity feel like a scar, not strength. The betrayal peaked not from him but within my fear. Days later, a job offer pinged. Editor at a Seattle publisher, solid salary. "Come build your future." Temptation whispered. Stability, proximity to mom. I mulled it alone on the balcony overlooking the Barrigadic spires, until Nicole found the email printout in my drawer. "You're considering it?" Hurt cracked her voice, deeper than any storm. "After everything?" "It's not leaving you," I pleaded, pulling her close. "Just options." But she recoiled. "Options? That's the coward's word. I gave you my all, farm, family, faith, and you're hedging." Tears streamed. Accusations flew. "Am I just your Spanish interlude? The rebound that stuck?" No, 1,000 times no. But doubt had seeded, courtesy of Jake's ghost. She fled to the farm, radio silence stretching days into agony. The climax unfolded on that Costa Brava beach, sunset painting the waves in fire, the air thick with salt and sorrow. I drove through the night, arriving as the light bled orange, finding her on the rocks where we'd first dreamed. She stood, wind-whipped, eyes red-rimmed. "Why, Nora? Why now?" Her voice broke, raw as the tide. I dropped to my knees in the sand, not dramatic but desperate. "Because I'm terrified. Of failing you, of this life swallowing me whole. But losing you? That's the real death." Words poured, no pretense, just the jagged truth. The job was safety, but she was home. I was a woman adrift, pretending to feel to fit. But with you I learned to feel for real. Scared, messy, all of it. Don't let my fear betray us. She sank beside me, sobs mingling with waves. I betrayed myself too, idealizing you, ignoring the cracks. We clung, the ocean our witness, confessions ebbing like the tide. No grand gestures, just hands clasped, breath sinking. "Stay," she whispered finally. "Build with me." I nodded, the weight lifting. "I choose us." Epilogue bloomed in quiet grace. I declined the job, pitching a hybrid gig, remote editing from Girona, farm life funding the rest. Mom visited that summer, charmed by the groves and Nicole's warmth, toasting to new roots. Jake faded to a footnote, blocked and forgotten. We self-published her chapbook sequel, My Essays Interspersed, Echoes of Us. It was titled, Selling Out at Markets from Tarragona to Toledo. 2 years on, as autumn gilds the olives once more, we stand on that same beach, rings glinting, simple silver bands etched with labyrinth swirls, exchanged in a civil ceremony under the cork oaks. Barcelona's our heartbeat, the farm our soul. I've stopped pretending. Sensitivity isn't an act, but a muscle strengthened in loving her. And in her eyes I see my reflection. Whole woman enough for this wild, wondrous life. Sometimes, over morning coffee, she teases. Still quoting Neruda? I grin, pulling her close. Only the real ones now. Love, it turns out, isn't a labyrinth. It's the map we draw together, twists and all.